I've done a lot of jobs in my lifetime, but one of the ones that I did before trail building was I was a bike mechanic for 5 years. You have a cable that moves and causes your derailleur to shift. Sometimes it's slow, sometimes it's sluggish. And here's a quick thing to do if that's starting to happen on your rides. Step 1, to shift it in your lowest gear while pedaling it. Then, once you get it in that biggest cog in the back, however your shifter works, knock it back up. What this does is take all the tension off of this until you move this. So before you pedal, you can pull out the housing and you have access to the cable. You can drop a little dab of grease right there. And then again up here, hit that with some grease as well. Then you can move the pedal. Now on this bike, it's straight housing all the way from the shifter to the derailleur. So those are the only 2 points where your stainless steel cable is out of the housing, and those are the points where moisture or whatever can happen, and then that could start to rust. There's also metal in the cable housing as well, so if you keep those 2 points on a bike like this lubed up, your shifting will stay smooth, and then you won't have to replace cables. Now it's the same concept with older bikes as well, but chances are you'll have these little braze on cable stops in multiple locations, which means that's how many more points you need to lube. So get it in the biggest gear, slam on this till it stops clicking, then pull it out of all these spots. Then you just lube up the cable at all of these intersections basically. Now make sure you get everything back in place before you move the pedal arm, otherwise the tension will hit and you'll have a really hard time getting this back into place. So make sure, double check you got everything in place and greased like you wanted it, then you can move forward and everything will be back to normal. Now adjusting shifters and derailleurs by themselves is kind of a tricky thing. Takes some practice. It might fall into the dark arts category, similar to carbureted engines. It's more about feel. It's an exact science to an extent, but when you're tuning it, it's more about feel. So that takes some practice, but this is the first thing you could do if you're feeling like your shifting is being kind of hesitant in either direction. That is always the first thing I do before I replace a cable or a housing. After doing that, then I would inspect the housing and look at the cable as well. Is it frayed? Is it rusted at any spots? Then I would replace it, and I'd also just do the housing as well at the same time. It's kind of like changing your spark plug wires with your distributor cap on said carbureted engine, which most people don't have anymore. But if you want to become more self-sufficient with your bike mechanic stuff, that's one of the best tricks I learned while working in a shop. So there you have it. That's how you can lube your shifter cable. And you can do a similar thing with brakes as well. Push the lever arms together and get the noodle out. That's this elbow here. And then you can move this little boot. Sometimes they're gone, but you can lube right there. Then find the next cable stop, lube it there, here, and then finally at the brake lever itself.